Alright, what is up you guys? I am here with the review I have been waiting to do the entire time I've been on YouTube. I've been on YouTube for almost 8 years now, and the fact that I have never reviewed this as a pay-per-view is kind of surprising. This is my all-time favorite pay-per-view, my favorite WrestleMania, WrestleMania 19. Seattle, Washington, Safeco Field. Just a great, excellent WrestleMania. So this is one that I honestly could watch and just never get sick of. And I'm doing it online now because I actually have this in the protective sealant. So I will be looking on Wikipedia for my match listing. But, you know, my overall letter grade, obviously when I do these, I am doing them unbiased. This may be my favorite WrestleMania, but I'm not going to say, oh, it's perfect. Obviously, no event's perfect. So, the pre-show, we had Chief Morley and Lance Storm versus Kane and Rob Van Dam. This was scheduled for the show, but obviously took place on the pre-show back then. We also had the John Cena rap battle with cardboard cutouts, so that was nice. And, you know, starting the show off, we had Matt Hardy versus Rey Mysterio for the Cruiserweight title. This is a really cool match opener, or pay-per-view opener. It only went 5.5 minutes, but honestly, it really didn't need to go much more than that. Obviously, their SmackDown match was better later on. But, you know, this was cool. You had Shannon Moore in there. I love Matt Hardy version 1. Just the little facts that would pop up during his entrance. Little stuff like that, I love. But, you know, it's a fun match. We had the dirty roll-up pin by Matt Hardy. Well, basically drop-down pin. And basically just cheating the whole way through. Then we had The Undertaker with an absent Nathan Jones versus Big Show and A-Train. Yeah, Nathan Jones evidently was terrible. He was too green, if you want to put it in wrestling terms. He was training for the pay-per-view. They didn't see he was making much progress, and he was taken out. That's the only reason he was not in the match. He did come out at the end, obviously. But this is the one of the two problems I have with this pay-per-view. Well, one of three, actually. But the third one we'll get to later. I just think Undertaker deserved a stronger match. It's The Undertaker. Like, his match with Ric Flair the previous year, it's one of my favorite Undertaker matches. So I felt like this was just kind of shoehorned in there. But, you know, Undertaker obviously deserved a better match. This was decent at best. Not much happened here. It only went almost 10 minutes. And then we had Trish Stratus versus Victoria and Jazz. And then Stevie Richards was in there. You know, this was great. You know, you had a pretty good triple threat match here. And Trish Stratus obviously was, you know, she's a previous women's champion. But this was before she was, like, crazy on top big, you know. And, you know, she won the title here. And, you know, I love this version of Victoria. She came out to All the Things She Said by Tattoo. I love that song. So it's really cool to see her come out to that. She had, like, the butch lesbian gimmick at the time, I guess you want to call it. And, you know, Jazz is always great, too. And, you know, you had 3 strong competitors in there. You get a good triple threat match out of it. So, good stuff. And then we had Team Angle, a.k.a. the world's greatest tag team, later on. Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin versus Chris Benoit and Rhino versus Chavo and Eddie Guerrero. It's very interesting to think Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero are just in this throwaway tag match, and then a year later, they're both world champions. Very cool. So, yeah, this was a very fast-paced match. It went almost 9 minutes. You know, like I said before, I don't like more than 2 teams in one match, unless it's like TLC or something. I just think it gets a little out of hand, and the tagging, like the fact that you can tag yourself out with anyone, it's always bothered me. I would prefer a actual triple threat tag team match where you have 3 competitors and you can tag each other out, if that makes sense. So instead of just having 2 people in the ring, just have 3, and then you can only tag your partners in, or your partner. I just think that would make it a little better. I don't know, but good match. You know, it's a very strong triple threat tag team match. And then we had the classic Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho match. This is fantastic. They put it all on the line. They held their names. Mr. WrestleMania, and then Chris Jericho right behind him there. You know, there's a reason why he's Mr. WrestleMania. There's a reason why Chris Jericho is one of the all-time greats. And this match is literally the epitome of why both of them are great workers, great wrestlers, just all around. Psychology, storytelling, physicality, you know, the high spots when you need them. This is a great story because you had Chris Jericho in the limelight of Shawn Michaels his whole career, his whole life. He looked up to him and was always called the next Shawn Michaels, and now he thinks he surpassed him. And he thinks he's better than him, and he wants to prove that. And I actually would have had Chris Jericho win this, but Shawn Michaels obviously won. He got the roll-up. And one of my favorite pictures of all time is the elbow drop from Shawn Michaels. It's a very famous picture. You know, maybe I'll put it in at the end of this. But, you know, it's Shawn Michaels' elbow drop onto Chris Jericho. And you just have the stadium in the background, you know, the twilight's coming in. It's beautiful. Just an overall great match. And then you had him hug it out, and then a kick to the nuts. And Chris Jericho actually flipped him off, but it was actually edited out for all future releases. Kind of like the Mickie James vagina incident. Next up, we had Triple H versus Booker T. One of the most controversial WrestleMania matches of all time. You know, obviously they brought the race card into this. I don't really like when they do that in wrestling. I just think it's kind of cheap. I like news stories. But, you know, it's just, so many stories have been done. And bringing out the race card, it's been done so many times. Be more creative. It's like the New Day this year. You know, it was good until they brought the race card into it. But, you know, obviously we had Triple H, you know, he got the pedigree and then waited, I think it was almost 30 seconds until he actually went for the pin. And that's just a slap in the face of Booker T. I really don't like Booker T, but obviously he should have at least looked stronger. I don't know if he should have won. You know, that's a big debate between people. Obviously, the story itself would call for him to win, but I just don't know if I'd wanted to see him as world champion quite yet. I mean, he already is the 5-time WCW champion, so he has the credit to be world champion. I'm just never the biggest fan of him, but I do think it was bullshit how he was just buried here. It was retarded. There was no reason for that to happen. And next up we had, you know, if you would have told me, like, let's say I was born in, let's say I was alive for WrestleMania 1. If you would have told me that one day Vince and Hogan would face each other in a street fight at WrestleMania, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we have it. Hulk Hogan versus Vince McMahon in a street fight. This is a really fun match, and this is an iconic match. You know, you even had that iconic image of, you know, Vince coming up from the apron. You know, he had the blood on his face. Just beautiful moment there, just for his character. Like, it just makes me smile every time I think about that. Just a classic heel Mr. McMahon. And you, of course, had Roddy Piper come in at the end. He gave Hulk Hogan the pipe to the head, which was interesting. And I'm surprised they actually let him back for WrestleMania 19. Because he said some controversial things on a documentary before this. And so I guess he was forgiven. But, you know, you had the leg drop off the ladder. I think it's the highest spot Vince has ever done, willingly. So, maybe the steel cage match with Stone Cold at St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That might have, yeah, that was bigger. Never mind. Overall, fun, great match. And then we have what was originally intended to be the main event, but they got cold feet, no pun intended. Stone Cold was hospitalized the day before, and so they're like, we'll push that second to last. So I think it would have been cool as the main event. It would have made perfect sense. But I actually like it how it turned out. I think Brock and Kurt was a good main event. And I think it didn't make as much sense at the time, obviously, because this was Stone Cold's final match. But I think overall Brock and Kurt had a better match. But The Rock and Stone Cold, this was special. You know, the third time going at it at WrestleMania. The Rock finally gets the win. You know, I love how he put on Stone Cold's jacket. You know, and this was heel Rock at the time. And you just had a beautiful moment. Yeah, it's breaking kayfabe, but, you know, they were talking to each other in the ring afterwards, and just really cool. Stone Cold got his, you know, final goodbye and put a close to his legendary career. Speaking to putting closes on legendary careers, fuck Baron Corbin versus Kurt Angle. Check out my opinion video on that one. I don't think it's happening, but we'll see. Next up, we had the main event, Brock Lesnar versus Kurt Angle. This match went 23 minutes, which is the longest match on the card, as the main event always should be. And, you know, this was great. You know, I don't knock it. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not the perfect match because of the Shooting Star Press spot. Yeah, it's not a 5-star match. It wasn't going to be a 5-star match regardless. I actually think the way the Shooting Star Press happened, it makes the match more intriguing. First time I saw that, I was like, his career's over. That could have been so much worse. So much worse, man. Like, it's scary to watch now. Like, it's like the Stone Cold versus Owen Hart, the pile driver. It just makes you cringe watching. But great main event, great technical wrestling, and, you know, I love their chemistry. It's not their best match, but it's up there. So, overall, you can debate whether or not this or 17 is the greatest WrestleMania of all time. I'm not going to answer that because, quite honestly, I go back and forth. But I think this does something that a lot of WrestleManias don't, and that gives something to everyone. You have Cruiserweight, you have tag team action, you have women's wrestling, you have, of course, you even had The Rock performances with Limp Bizkit. You had the stupid pillow fight, whatever the hell that was, with Coach and the Catfight girls. You had hardcore wrestling, you know, with the street fight. You had classic mat wrestling with the main event. You had everything for everyone. And I think that's what's really important here. And I'm going to give this match, or this show, an A. I'm not going to give it an A+. You know, there are some clear flaws here. But I still love this pay-per-view. I always will. This will always be my favorite, unless something crazy happens. And, you know, I highly recommend this. This and 17, to me, are the two greatest. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts down below of this WrestleMania, what your rating would be. And for now, this has been the DVD Freak. Peace out.